Hi friends, welcome to our February Mixed Level 3 sponsored video. If you're interested in having a video tailored to your needs, reach out through email or text or good old voicemail and a phone call. You can have a private to go along with that, and then a video to support it, and or a Reiki session as well. So pull up a mat and let's practice. Come to sit in a comfortable seat for you. You may want to have a couple of blocks nearby in case they become helpful. And sometimes that slight boost of the seat is nice for the hips and the knees, and then of course that beautiful long spine. Let your hands face down a moment and feel all of that seat become active, from your toes, through your low legs, as you press down your upper legs a bit, your navel center pulls in and up, and those good shoulders roll from your ears. And you have the option to lengthen the arms as you do this, or to bend at the elbows a bit. Slow, steady breathing. You know you can close your eyes or find a soft gaze over the tip of your nose. Often we tilt the chin forward. We even consider the Jalandhara Bandha, the chin lock, where the chin comes closer to the neck, even the chest. And then on a slow, steady inhale, we'll lift the chin and lengthen the neck and reach out of crown of head. And let's bring the left hand directly on top of your heart space, and then the other hand over. And tap into the beautiful beat of your own rhythm. Acknowledging all the incredible miracles going on in your body for this to happen. Even the diaphragm as you breathe, making its way up to massage the heart a bit. Maybe more apparent when we're in a pose like shoulder stand. And then as you slide your hands over to true heart center space, as we refer to it in yoga, remember whenever we can move the energy in this direction, we are inviting responsiveness rather than reaction. And we let that be a practice for sure. We'll open with the sound of 3 ohms after inhale, as you wish. Om. 2 more. Om. 1 more. Slow, steady inhale. Slow, steady exhale. Bringing hands to your knees, and let's enjoy a bit more of the full moon energy as we move from knee to knee. You may find yourself lifting and lowering a bit, that navel center still pulling in and up. Maybe the elbows bend, maybe the shoulders grow more involved. Notice where your inhale takes you, notice where your exhale takes you. Next time you arrive center, pause a moment, reverse your circles. Observe the spine, listen to the spine. Notice if it makes more sense to keep yourself very long and tall, or if you'll round a little bit into the edges. And next time you arrive center, pause a moment. And if you don't mind, we'll come to sit on the heels. So I'll turn so you remember your options here. Sometimes we like, that's a bit much, we like a little cushion under the ankles. Sometimes simply sitting on the heels is just fine. Sometimes we like a block between the heels, and that way we're lifted just a bit, and that's kinder to the knees. So you do what you need to do for your practice, and we'll find a seated cow, basically, and a seated cat. So on an inhale, you're moving from your tail all the way up your spine into your open heart. And then on the exhale, you're rounding a bit, and you're moving with your breathing. You can keep this slow and steady. You can speed it up as you warm up. Inhale long, quiet spine. Exhale, release. On the next inhale, reach your arms out to the side. On an exhale, bring your hands to your shoulders. You can have your thumbs up and your forefingers down, or you can make fists if your wrists prefer. On an inhale, you'll move to one side, and on an exhale, you'll move to the other. You're moving with your breathing. You're breathing with your moving, and typically this Kundalini warm-up has us moving a bit more quickly in our practice, so that means the breathing matches the moving. Inhale brings you center. Exhale releases your hands. On an inhale, we'll lift the shoulders and then release and roll from the ears. Inhale, lift, exhale, roll. Stay with this as long as it feels just right. Experiment with the lift and then the release down if you like. So see what suits you and your neck and your shoulders, and move with your breathing and breathe with your moving. all the air out. Slow, steady inhale. Begin to bring your hands together as you breathe. 4 fingers point, fingers interlace, and thumbs stack one on top of the other. Hands move in front of you or hands move above you. Slow, steady inhale. Slow, steady exhale. On the inhale, we will think, say, or listen to sound sat, S-A-T. On exhale, we will think, say, or listen to sound nam, N-A-M. The translation from Gurmukhi, one of the yoga languages, ancient sounds we use in yoga, is I am. If you have a translation in your first language, please use it as you wish. We'll begin after the exhale. Sat, nam, sat, nam, sat, nam, sat, nam, sat, nam. Remember, on inhale, you're pulling navel center in and up. On exhale, the navel center is moving a bit softer. Sat, nam, 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 sat, nam. I am, 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 we are, we are, we are, we are, we are, we are. Slow, steady inhale. Pause the breath a moment, engage the root, lock the muscles at your seat, pull in and up. Exhale, release the lock, release the hands, breathe. Moving forward to table pose. Take a moment to set a blanket for your knees as you wish. Take a moment to have your blocks within reach, just in case they become helpful. Your fingers spread wide. You choose the toes tuck under or the tops of the feet press down. And we'll bring the hips back near one heel, over to the other, and we'll inhale up near one wrist, over to the other. Keep moving, keep breathing. Remember that good navel center pulling in and up so the front body supports the back body. And next time you come center, pause a moment and reverse your good circles. Next time your hips move back near your heels, keep them there for child's pose. If you don't mind, thread the needle in child's pose. One hand forward, one hand out to the side, and the side hand moves underneath you. I have a bit of blanket here to support the side of my head and my shoulder. You'll see if that's what suits you or not. So please find your way into a position that feels just right for you and your neck and your shoulder. And then top hand comes near the nose so that you can press down and lift up, and we'll switch sides. Other hand forward, other hand out to the side. And that moves underneath you. And again, see how your setup works for you. Do you need to stop and come undone and actually thread the needle from your table instead of child's? Do you need a boost of blanket under ear and shoulder? Remember, ear and shoulder need to be in the same lineup, not one lower than the other or higher than the other. Top hand makes its way near the nose until you can press down and lift up to your table pose, and we'll take it up and back to downward facing dog. And you'll bend one knee and then the other, and you'll lift one heel and then the other. And you'll press one heel down and then the other. And we'll walk those good feet all the way up to meet the hands in a half forward fold. Finding some good length, and for some of us the half fold is just where we need to be to let that low back release, and for others we exhale into the full fold. Notice where your knees are compared to your ankles, even here. And then we'll come up in steps. The first time around, hands to shins as you lift head and heart, hands to hips, and all the way up to stand near the top of mat, where we'll take a crescent moon. So arms reaching out and up, and your middle finger and thumb will find one hand and give that arm a nice big stretch over to the side, while you are pressing through feet. Your gaze is simply out across from you. Inhale brings you center, and we'll take it to the other side. Middle finger and thumb find the other wrist. Inhale brings you center, and now we'll bring the hands to the low back. So you can have your palms pressing up or your knuckles pressing. And actually, let's find your knuckles pressing for a moment. So find your spine in the middle there, and then move about 2 inches away from the spine on either side, and rub your knuckles up and down. It's a nice pressure point. That's part of a set of finding pressure points to lighten the energy. And I think anytime we can give even a bit of attention to the body, it's a good idea, especially that low back area. And then you can keep pressing your knuckles into the back, pull your elbows back up a bit with the heart, and you find your open-hearted mountain as it suits you. And then inhale, gaze center and down to find balance, and switch the hands. Let your fingers point down, or you can take the inner edge of your fist and press, and the elbows pull back a bit, and you're breathing. And as you press down, you lift up and gaze forward and down to find balance. And we'll take all of that now with us through moon salutations. If you have your blanket out, stand closer so you're sure to step over it rather than trip over it. Arms reach out and up, the heels remain grounded. Your hands can stay apart, sometimes kinder for shoulders. Your palms can come together. You might find temple or steeple. Exhale brings the hands down the midline, fingertips find their way near the toe tips or your blocks, and you're finding full fold. You can give your knees a little bend or a lot of a bend, head and neck releasing. Inhale, lifts your head and heart. The right foot steps back for a bit of runner's lunge, and then the back knee settles down. Toes tucked under may help with balance. You can always bring top of foot down. You might come up one hand at a time. You want the ankle basically under the knee for this part. Your arms reach forward. You're finding balance first. And then we'll work with our good flexibility. Ardha Chandrasana, your half moon. Hands down the midline, fingertips to the toe tips. This is the part where you might want blocks under your hands. So grab them if you'd like. Your back toes tuck under for balance. Your matching hand to foot stays down on fingertips or palm. We'll pick the back knee up. You might settle through that back heel and lift the other hand up. So you're opening up to the hip side, to the open hip side. Slow, steady breathing. And then top hand comes down and we'll switch sides. Fingers can claw, or you can press the palm down of the opposite hand. You're moving to the outer edges of both feet without collapsing onto your ankles. You'll lift the other hand up, maybe to the side, maybe to the ceiling. Remember your options with your gaze to the floor and a bit down for balance, across from you for neutral neck, maybe up to your fingertips. Top hand comes down and we'll take it back to child's pose, to down dog, to puppy dog, as you wish. Pressing your heels toward the mat, pressing your hips toward the wall behind you, feeling those good fingertips, your knuckles, the four corners of your palms. The left heel, I need to step forward a bit, lifts up in line with left hip. If you find the wall, you can press into it. Your top knee bends and moves toward matching elbow. Push back. Your top knee bends and moves toward opposite elbow. Push back. And continue with your breathing. Now, if you feel that your wrists need a break, you would bring the knees down and proceed from table pose with one leg bending, coming toward your chin and your nose, and then you have more of a cow back and then a cat back. So both ways work. Do what works for you. Both ways give good attention to the balancing. Give good attention to the core strengthening. Keep moving and breathing. Next time your knee moves toward matching elbow, step forward, bring the back knee down, come up with your balance intact. Find your half moon, Ardha Chandrasana. Hands make their way down the midline, fingertips to the toe tips, and we'll take the back knee up and slide that back foot forward. Step over your blanket if it's there and let the back foot come behind the front foot. Inhale, lift the head and heart a bit, and exhale, full fold with the ankles crossed. Come up in steps or find your reverse swan dive, whichever foot is in front. See about placing the other hand in front, palms find each other. Eagle, wisdom with that temple steeple hand placement above you. The ability to see the whole picture. And then the hands come down in front of you, and now maybe you can see what I've done. I've cross-stacked my wrists and I've brought, let me do that in front of me so you can see. Crossing at wrist, palms together, fingers interlace, 4 fingers point, thumbs stack, and then hands come into the heart center. Unwinding to your 5-pointed star. Hands to your hips, heels in a bit, bend the knees, and we'll find our goddess arms to go with our goddess legs. You can stay quite still or you can rock side to side a bit. Come center, 5-pointed star, hands to the hips, toe heel it together or hop it together, and we'll take it through Chandra Namaskar. Once again, open-hearted mountain. Hands down the midline, fingertips near the toe tips, full forward fold if possible. Notice those knees. Can you bring them in line with your heels? Lifting the head and heart, the left foot steps back to a lunge. We bring the back knee down and you find your way through balancing into your half moon. I'm staying pretty much centered in these Ardha Chandrasana postures rather than moving far forward into my hips. You'll see what works for you. Hands make their way down the midline, fingertips near the toe tips. We'll keep the matching hand down. You might grab a block for this part. We'll pick the back knee up, settle through that back heel perhaps. You might want to keep the heel up, lift the other arm up. Find the gaze that makes sense for you. And sometimes it switches from side to side, right? Top hand comes down and we'll switch sides. You're moving to the outer edges of both feet without collapsing onto or into your ankles. Top hand comes down and we'll take it back to child's pose. Puppy dog, down dog, as you like. Pressing your heels toward the mat, pressing your hips toward the wall behind you. Feeling your fingertips, your knuckles, the 4 corners of your palms, maybe even noticing some hollowed space through the underarms. Your right heel lifts. I need to take my down dog for a little walk, and your top knee moves forward to matching elbow. Back you go, 3-legged dog, and top knee moves forward to opposite elbow. Remember, you can take this down to table Press back, round as the knee pulls in toward chin or nose, and then inhale, open up a bit. Let it work for you. Choose wisely. Maybe you'll do a bit of both variations. Next time your knee moves toward matching elbow, step forward, find your lunge, and finally find that beautiful half moon where the back of your body starts to take on the shape of Ardha Chandrasana. Release your fingertips to your toe tips. Step all the way forward and bring your back foot behind your front foot, and from the half fold, find the full fold. Coming up in steps, reverse swan dive as you like. Place that opposite hand in front of the other hand compared to the foot that's in front. Eagle wisdom. So I have my wrists crossed, my palms together, and my hands in temple or steeple. I'm giving the detailed oriented mind in particular a moment to view the whole picture. And then hands come down into heart center, and let's do that a few times. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, pull in. And this is one of those wonderful brain gym techniques where we're bringing focus and calm. They go together because we've crossed the midline, and then we have this lovely little activity to give ourselves something to do so we can move out of the reacting and move into the responding, if that's what we're here to do. And the hands moving into the heart center help us to release anger as well. And then unwind, find your 5-pointed star. And this time as your hands find your hips, see about your heels coming in a bit, lifting your heels, and then finding your goddess arms. 5-pointed star. Hands to the hips, toe healing feet together. On an inhale, arms out and up, open-hearted mountain for a moment more. On an exhale, hands down the midline, and we'll take a chair pose. Maybe ears in line with your upper arms as you're reaching forward and reaching back. Fingertips to the toe tips. You can step the right foot back, followed by the left to your down dog. And this time we're going to press into our fingertips to walk the hands back to the feet. And once you reach there, you'll lift one set of toes and slide your hand underneath so your toes can press into your wrist, and same thing other side.
I have the tops of my hands down and my feet are pressing into my palms and my toes are actually pressing into my wrists. You might play with your knees bent. You might see about lengthening your legs. Let gravity be a friend for a moment here. On an inhale, lift the head and heart, press into your fingertips and come up into your chair pose. As you press into one foot, imagine lifting a big snowshoe foot up and then placing that ankle on top of the other knee and bending into your 1.5 legged half squat. You can always hold your hips. You can always hold your ankle and your knee. You can always back up and do this at the wall. Then you would press your head and your shoulders and your low back into the wall. Press down, lift up, and let's see about the other side. Lift that other big snowshoe foot and place your ankle on top of knee. Hold where it makes sense for you. You might even bring hands to heart center. Remember, this foot is flexed. And come undone when you're ready. From this place, find your hips and let's find our way to the center of the mat, and we'll toe heel the feet much wider than hips now. You'll need your blocks, so if they're not nearby, please find them. You might want your blanket, so have that nearby as well. If you want to come into a side lunge and find it, go right ahead. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, bow forward. And now find those good blocks. You might stack them just a bit in front of you. And remember, when you're in this wide stance, you can bring your big toes in a smidge. So my yoga mat is becoming a bit slippery these days, which typically we want good grip on our mat, but sometimes if our surface that we're practicing on is slippery, it actually gives our body a little more of a challenge. So you can hold your elbows as you prop up on your block and rest your forehead, or you can push those blocks away and let gravity work with you a bit more. On an inhale, lift your head and heart. Find your blocks or your mat under your shoulders. And now let's bring one hand to outer edge of calf and other hand to outer edge of calf. Lift and lengthen and exhale. Release. Your elbows can bend and move away from you a bit. On an inhale, lifting head and heart. And now we're going to slide those hands down to your big toes. So your index finger and middle finger, hook big toe, thumb on top, same thing. Other side, you take a moment to lift and lengthen, and then exhale, bow forward. If it seems helpful, you could press your forehead into a block. Sometimes that bit of feedback is helpful. Sometimes it's nice to work without and see what happens. Inhale, lifts your head and heart, and let's see about one more step here. You're lifting up to find good length in the spine, and then your hands start to reach behind you. Your arms can stay very long, or you can bend at your elbows. Your head and neck releases, breathing. Inhale, lifts your head and heart. Oh, I want my blanket here. So I'm going to see about this next part. We haven't done it in quite some time, so let's work our way into it. I'm going to have a layer of blanket underneath my shoulders, so my hands have even ground to press into. My feet might move a little further away from center space, and I'll press into fingertips first to lift and lengthen, and then maybe just notice where you may or may not be leaning on the inner edges or outer edges of your feet, on the tippy toes or on the heel, and distribute weight a bit more evenly. And as we bring the forearms down, actually, I'm walking my hands back and I'm going to bring my forehead down, excuse me. We'll work with the forearms at the wall. And as I bring my forehead down where the crown meets, I'm still pressing into my hands. They're closer to my shoulders, away from my head a little, and I'm lifting my heels to see what happens here. So you might come onto your tippy toes. You might start to press down and lift up and press those good feet away from you. And then you can come back down, take your hands wide, press down, lift up, and let's take it to a goddess squat from here. So toe, heel, those feet in. Find your goddess squat. Sometimes the heels lift and we like a layer of blanket underneath. Sometimes the heels settle down. You see what works for you. Arms inside your knees, palms together. Nice long spine. If you find yourself leaning very far forward and rounding, good idea to boost up a bit so you can lengthen. One hand reaches outside the foot, other hand reaches to the side. You can stay here. You might reach up to the ceiling. You might bring the top of the hand to your low back, and this hand can even sneak inside your hip crease. And then you find the gaze that suits your balance and your neck. And we'll come back to center and switch sides. Slow, steady breathing. Come back to center, and let's come on to the hands and knees one more time before we move to the floor. So as I bring my knees forward, I'm going to set up for table pose and thread the needle. You know you can slide a blanket underneath if your shoulder and ear would like more support. About halfway in the middle. One hand down. Let me do this side. One hand down, one hand reaches to the side, threads the needle so your ear and shoulder find even ground. And then the top hand can stay near your face for a moment. And the foot that's closest to this hand that's underneath you is going to reach out to the side and plant through the foot. So your toe tips are near your fingertips. Now this top hand might climb toward the top of mat. Top hand near the nose, and that side foot travels back to table. We'll press down and lift up and take it to the other side. Once your ear and shoulder are set, the foot that's closest to the hand that's underneath slides up, your leg is long, and your toe tips and your fingertips are moving a bit toward each other. The top hand can reach toward the top of mat. And I have my foot grounded, that's out to the side over here. So the whole foot is pressing down. That may take some work with the ankle. Top hand moves near the nose. We'll bring the knee and foot back to table. Press down and lift up. Let's take a child's pose. Knees together or knees apart. Arms in front of you or arms alongside you. Inhale, lifting up to your seat and then coming on down to the mat. We'll bring the legs to a wide seat now. You may want that blanket under your seat. Sometimes that little bit of lift can be helpful. Let me give that a try. And you may want blocks nearby your legs. So I'm gonna unfold my blanket and just give myself that little bit of lift. And then you see if you'll flex the feet or if you'll point through the toes. And on an inhale, we'll lengthen. And on an exhale, we'll take it to one side. You might press into your block. You might press into your leg. You might reach for your foot. Your other hand reaches away from you, up to the sky. It can find your ear, or you can reach overhead, and the upper back eventually is moving toward your upper leg. Fingers interlace, palms press away, and we travel on over to the other side where you have a block, you have a leg, you have a foot. If you're reaching for the foot, your index finger is near the arch. Your palm is up and your thumb is on the top of the foot. And you have all of those options with your top hands. You can even take the top of your top hand and press into that low back to see if that helps you find your upper back toward your upper leg. Fingers interlace, palms press, you lift and lengthen, and you take your upper body to face that first side. Lengthen first and let your exhale bow forward. You can have both blocks, under your hands. You could lift and lengthen. You might bend your knees a little. You might bow forward. Inhale, lift, lengthen, take it to the other side, please. Lift and lengthen, exhale, release. Sometimes one side makes different sense than the other. Fingers interlace, you lift, you lengthen, you come center. As you release forward, you may want blocks in front of you. Remember, blocks have 1, 2, 3 different levels, so see what makes sense. as you bow forward. Remember, you can change the feet to help the backs of knees. As you lift the head and heart, fingers interlace, palms press. You lift and lengthen, hands come about a foot behind you, and your palms press down on the mat so you don't slip. And you lift up into the wide stance, reverse plank. Your tippy toes might start to reach for the mat. You give your low back a little boost, your hips a little nudge, you breathe. Exhale, releases your seat very gently. Bend those knees, bring the soles of feet together. Up to you if you want blocks under your knees or not. Up to you if you want blanket under your seat or not. Pulling the legs closer now, holding the ankles or the toes. Knees begin to release toward the mat a bit. No need to force them. Breathe and let it be. As you release your feet, you can bring your hands behind you. I'm going to have my fingers point away from me for a moment. And with the best use of our imagination, the shoulders roll, we'll lift the seat a bit and edge it toward the heels. And you'll imagine having a little seat up on your heels. And I'll do my best to use my imagination here. And then releasing your seat, bring your legs long. If you know at the end of your practice you want to rest with your legs up the wall, you can turn to face the wall right now. Have your good props and layers nearby, and we'll make our way down to the walls, to the floor, excuse me. So your feet can come to the top of the mat. You can bend your knees or lengthen your legs. You can lift your arms and lower in slow motion. Of course, you can bring one hand down at a time, one arm down at a time. And as you make your way to the mat, you might want to bend your knees for a moment and give yourself time to press the back into the mat. So we're giving the hips a little tilt because we want to use the front of our body for this next set or kriya. And by doing that, we can bring our arms long and very close to you as you press through the backs of arms and your palms. Sometimes it makes sense to slide the hands under the hips, and then as we bring the legs long, inhale, lift, feet apart, exhale, cross at the ankles. Move with your breathing. This is a set or a kriya for mental and physical vitality. Powerful breathing. Bring the legs together, keep them up, slow, steady inhale, pause the breath a moment, engage your root lock, Exhale, release the lock. Rest a moment. Now, as time goes on, you can add on to how many of those crisscrosses you do. You can take a break and come back in and begin again. And then the second part is a push-pull. So again, arms next to you, pretty close. You might even scooch those shoulders in a bit. The hips have that little tilt, so you're using front body and you're pushing and pulling. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling. If you want to slide the hands under your hips, that works too. Move with your breathing. It's a powerful breath. Pull the knees in, slow, steady inhale, followed by slow, steady exhale. Maybe a rock and roll brings you to one side so you can lift yourself up to your seat, or maybe a rock and a roll brings you up to your seat, and we'll bring the hands overhead for the third of 4 parts of this Kriya. Your arms reach out and up, fingers interlace, palms to sky. Slow, steady inhale. Slow, steady exhale. Inhale more than you think you can. And begin breath of fire. Call the exhale out, slow, steady inhale, slow, steady exhale. Release those good strong arms, breathe. This next part also involves breath of fire. Remember, you're pulling in and up at the navel center with a soft but fast pump. Arms reach out and up, fingers interlace, palms to sky. This time we cross at the wrists or the forearms, and your thumbs come forward and your 4 fingers are back. Let me turn so you can see that. So thumbs forward, 4 fingers back. You don't have to hold on to your shoulders, but you might. And then the trick is, compared to our warm-up, when we find our head like this, we're lifting the chin for this part of the set. Slow, steady inhale. Slow, steady exhale. Inhale more than you think you can. Breath of fire.
exhale all the air out. Slow, steady inhale. Pause the breath, engage the root block. Pull the muscles at your seat in and up. Exhale, release the breath, release the lock. Breathe. Slow, steady inhale. Pause the breath, engage the root block. Hold the breath a moment. Exhale, release the breath and the lock. Slow, steady inhale. Pause. Release the lock, release the breath. Release the hands. You've done it. It's time to rest. Anytime we can move those legs above the head is a good idea. If you'd like, join me at the wall. If you're happy to stretch out right where you are, go for it. And find any layers you might like to keep you cozy while you rest. So if you move sideways to the wall, that might help you reach those legs on up, and hopefully the wall isn't too chilly. If it is chilly, grab your socks and find some comfort while you're resting. Sometimes we even slide a bit of blanket or block under that lowest part of the back. Giving the hips a little boost can be helpful. It depends on how you are feeling and what you're needing. Give yourself permission, please, to rest. So all that you've done during your practice has time to assimilate into the body. If you'd like to rest for a longer amount of time, please do so. Maybe pause the video and take some more Shavasana time, or you can just let my voice be in the background as you rest. I'm going to begin awakening through fingers and toes and through ankles and wrists in a nice